Okay, welcome to part 2 of episode 6 of the Home Studio for Beginners course. I'm your host, Rusty Smith. In part 1, we talked about the fundamentals. We talked about what it was to establish a grid, get the right tempo, get the right meter, and the right feel of the meter. Now we're going to talk about other aspects of the workflow of recording a song. So what is it you need to do after you get a foundation built? And I'm going to point out that the foundation that I was talking about previous in the examples that I gave was in relationship to having a drum track and that being the foundation. The drum track is not always the foundation. There are times when you're going to want to have the foundation to be just something like you playing guitar and singing or playing piano or whatever, and it's going on a feel. Let it be known that you can establish a grid based off of a performance that you do in real time. In other words, you don't have to lay down a solid click and then stay with that click. You can do something that has the feel that you want, and then you can establish the click after you've made that performance, and then that becomes your grid. That's something we'll cover in another episode down the road. That might even be in the intermediate series, not the beginner series. But the foundation that you lay is very important, and it's great to have a click. It's great to have a grid. I always prefer having a grid, even if it's based off of a performance after I've made that performance. Most of the time, my grid is established off of a drum track because I tend to write songs that are rock-oriented, and it's based around a rhythm section. I'm a bass player. That's what I was originally, and all my early studio work, I was playing bass and there was a drummer. Okay, so that's kind of the way I think. The foundation has been laid, and now it's time to put more parts on. Okay, no matter what you're recording, you have to think about, well, what is it I'm going to do? Is it an instrument I can plug into my interface? Do I need a microphone? If you need a microphone, is it something where you're going to need to have your speakers muted and use headphones? If your speakers are loud enough and your microphone is near enough your speakers, well, you'll get a feedback. You don't want that. There are times, though, you can use a microphone and have your speakers on. Something along the lines of putting a microphone in front of a guitar amplifier. The guitar amplifier is going to be pretty loud. You can be playing guitar in the room, have your speakers on, and you'll have a little bit of bleed, but that microphone, the bleed will be so minimal, it's not going to make a difference. The other thing to think about is as you're adding parts to your song, the more parts that you have, you need to have a blend that is proper. The blend needs to be such that as you put another part on, you're hearing the balance the way you need to hear it along with the new part you're putting on. So you're going to modify your mix as you go. Your mix will change as the parts add up. You might be to the point to where you've got 6 elements in a song. Well, when you started out and you first had those first 3 elements, you had a blend that worked for you, but as you added more elements, then you'll come to discover that, oh, wait a minute, those first 3 elements, this thing's too loud and this thing's too soft, and the thing I'm adding now needs to be at this level. You'll see that your blend needs to change as you add parts. And not only does the blend need to change, you're probably going to want to get things spread out in the stereo spectrum to where everything's not in the middle. Because if everything's in the middle, well, that's going to get boring and the sound builds up and frequencies are fighting each other. Stereo was invented for a reason, not just because it was fun to listen to in headphones. It was invented because things build up in the middle, and there is an art to making a mono record, but those days are gone forever. And we don't want them to come back, I don't think, actually. All right, talking about level. When you push those faders up and you start getting a blend together, look over at the main meters that are heading out toward your speakers. If those faders are too high, then that meter is going to get to the point to where it's actually clipping. It's going to touch the top as loud as it can go. That's called full scale, by the way. 0 dB full scale is as loud as you can go. And you don't want to go there, basically. You want to leave what's known as headroom. Headroom is the space between where the top of that meter is on the main output and as far as the meter can go. And you want to leave yourself headroom so you have somewhere to go. So you're not clipping the output of the main output. Once you do get proper headroom, if the sound coming out of your speakers is too low, simply turn up your speakers. So if you find yourself getting the blend that you like and you look over at that meter on the main output and it's clipping or it's very close to as high as it can go, take all those faders and pull them back a little bit, okay? Because you want headroom. You want a little safety margin in there. You want that output to be around 70%. There's a whole art to mixing, and we're going to cover that in several episodes going down the road because you can't cover it in one episode. Mixing is a very intricate thing, and there's a lot of elements to mixing, as there is a lot of elements to recording itself. Okay, so that's the basic elements of a workflow of recording a song. We're going to be getting into much more detail about this workflow and about the different factors involved, and you're going to learn a lot more about how to utilize the plugins you need to utilize, how to get a signal path put together that helps you record things better, and it'll be a nice journey along the way. There's a reason this channel is called Record, Mix, Repeat, and it's because in order to listen to one of your songs, you have to record all the elements to it, you have to mix those elements together, and then you sit back and you get to smile while you listen to what you've done. And you realize that was fun. I got to do that again. So you repeat. Please hit the subscribe button, and please continue watching the rest of the episodes of the Home Studio for Beginners series here on Record, Mix, Repeat. I'm your host, Rusty Smith. In episode 7, we talk about latency. You don't want to miss that one.